Welcome to Analyzing Finance with Nick. In this video, I'm going to answer probably one of the more popular questions I get. In the world of constant change and macroeconomic uncertainty, which has been propelled recently by AI, how does a young person strategize and manage their career these days? Especially with a lot of the traditional paths being kind of cut at the knees. Where are the 250K a year plus jobs out there or careers? This may be a multi-part series, but I'm just going to talk about really just career management in general because it kind of answers all of these things. I think the flaw in most conventional career advice is that it's really teaching you to be tragically lucky, and I'm quoting my friend Chris Adel-Missé, his blog Moon Tower Meta, where he talks about this idea that basically a lot of MBAs plan their careers so they just happen to be at the right industry in the right city at the right time so they can move up the ladder without get laid off on any economic down cycle or industry transition. And so really the goal, and a lot of that isn't really determined on your skill. Like, you could be the most competent employee or manager, but if you happen to be working in, say, the coal industry when you came out of college, you're probably out of work right now, or had to start over in a different industry. And it's actually like a funny indicator, really, of the Harvard MBA indicator. It's usually the line of work that attracts the most Harvard MBAs is usually the one that gets hit the hardest in the next economic down cycle. We saw this in the great financial crisis when finance was the most popular exit opportunity for Ivy League MBA students. And during the GFC, finance industry employment got hit the hardest and pay got hit the hardest. In the post-GFC, the economic recovery has mostly been dominated by employment in big technology companies. And now that's where the fat is being cut the most right now in this down cycle, is big technology companies. And so that's what also makes it very difficult to really just hope on being the lucky person who can just keep moving up the ladder without being on the wrong company or in the wrong industry or being a victim to a down economic cycle. Is really just hoping to kind of skate through without facing any adversity. Well, that is like the dream, really, is to get up to a high enough level of management in a company or high enough of a skilled labor position that you're making $300,000 to $500,000 a year without having to take the risk of entrepreneurship or being in another high risk career such as like commission only sales. So conventionally, when most people are asking for career advice, they're not asking for how do I find a job of my passion, or how do I get the best risk-adjusted return or stress-adjusted return on my human capital. No, it's really just simply the question that I addressed before, is how do I get the stable, low-risk, high-pay corporate career track? And since everybody wants to do that, those are the most extremely competitive and hardest jobs to get to. Those are the ones that usually require either Ivy League or similar caliber degrees, a lot of connections, and the highest degree of networking and the highest level of academic success, and lots of other hoops you got to jump through. And so it may be, in terms of just perceived by the general public, as the most prestigious career track and the lowest risk for pay, but if you adjust it for stress and often hours worked, because a lot of these types of jobs tend to require longer hours because employers can get away with providing those longer hours, And also, to justify their compensation, they need to work longer hours to make the payment of their services worthwhile. It is not the most rewarding career path necessarily. I mean, it can be. It depends on a variety of variables. But if that's the question, then I think you're searching for not necessarily the right thing. It's really dependent on your personality type. If you're somebody who just wants like a stable career and career is not your priority, your goal is more like family or pursuing hobbies, and you just need enough money to support yourself or to chip into the family, then you should probably either move to a more laid back country on work life balance, such as Western Europe, or you work in a government or quasi government company like an electric utility, if that's your priority. If your priority is just to make generational wealth, that so your grandchildren will never have to work, and you want the highest shot of being able to metaphorically swing for the fences, and or you just heavily value freedom, like you don't like the idea of having a boss, and you don't like your schedule being constrained, and you like being able to pursue what you truly want to do with no sort of societal blockage, then entrepreneurship would be your path. And if your risk tolerance level is somewhat in between, and you have the willingness to play office politics, the variety of hoops that you need to whether academic hoops or nepotism / networking type hoops, or just being able to go or study all of the guidebooks to interviews and just play the game for corporate America, then that path would be the best for you. I really just think it depends on your circumstances. It also kind of depends on your ability to take risk and how much you need to take risk. If you're somebody from a relatively privileged background and you happen to be in a historically protected class of society, then the corporate path has a lot lower risk and a lot less hoops to go through. On the other hand, if you're from what is a not so privileged background, you may also want to take a less risky route. However, if you really want to strike it big, or you just are from one of these unprotected classes in our society, and your career has an effective cap, or you're in an industry that a flat hierarchy and doesn't have much promotion and advancement opportunities, you're either the boss or you're doing your little niche specialty, then the entrepreneurship risk reward pays off more. In the next video, I'm going to go into more of my personal approach to this and my biases on it. But that's my introduction on career paths.